Hey guys, welcome to Stories to the Nation, and we've got something super special for you guys today. A Winnie the Pooh sleep story from therapeutic storyteller Dan Jones. Now listen, if you guys want to hear more stories like this, let me know in the comments. Alright, time to get cozy, close those eyes, and let the story carry you away. Later guys.
The Great Balloon Race. Once upon a time, on a sunny day in the 100-acre wood, a round and somewhat rotund bear by the name of Pooh, accompanied by his small but ever so loyal friend Piglet, were out on one of their little ambles around the woods. It was just as they were passing by the old log that they noticed something quite out of the ordinary. Lying before them were two brightly coloured objects, quite deflated and a bit sad-looking. What could these be? Asked Piglet, his tiny eyes wide with curiosity. They seem like balloons, said Pooh, thinking very hard, as he often did when faced with a puzzle. Balloons? Piglet echoed, his ears perking up. But whatever are they doing here? Pooh shrugged his shoulders, but his eyes sparkled with an idea. We could have a balloon race, he suggested. A balloon race? Squeaked Piglet. But how do we... That, Pooh declared, is a question for Christopher Robin. So hand in hand, Pooh and Piglet trotted off in the direction of Christopher Robin's house, the deflated balloons bobbing along behind them. Christopher Robin was sitting outside, his back against a tree, as he pored over a book. He looked up as Pooh and Piglet approached, and a smile spread across his face when he saw the deflated balloons. We've come for your advice, Pooh announced, puffing out his chest importantly. We've decided on a balloon race. Christopher Robin laughed at the idea. A balloon race, is it? Well, that does sound fun, but it'll take more than just speed, you know. It'll take teamwork, too. Teamwork? Repeated Pooh, his brow furrowed in thought. Yes, teamwork, replied Christopher Robin. You see, it's not just about racing each other. It's about helping each other, too, especially when things become difficult. So Christopher Robin gave Pooh and Piglet two sets of instructions. One for inflating the balloons, which involved a great deal of puffing and blowing, much to Piglet's amusement, and another for the principles of racing, which he said were about not just being the fastest, but also being the kindest and the most helpful. Pooh and Piglet listened attentively, nodding and making notes in the ground with sticks. When Christopher Robin finished, they thanked him, their hearts filled with a sense of adventure and the spirit of friendly competition. That evening, as the sun began to set, Pooh and Piglet sat by the river, looking at their now inflated balloons. They were beautiful, bright and bouncy, full of promise for the exciting adventure that lay ahead. It was to be a race, yes, but as Christopher Robin had explained, it was also to be a test of their friendship and teamwork. And so, with a shared look of anticipation, they looked towards the sky, ready for their great balloon race to begin. The sun rose over 100-acre wood, dousing it with a golden glow that seeped into the leaves and danced upon the rippling river. Pooh and Piglet had spent the night meticulously preparing for their great balloon race. With their newly inflated balloons bobbing beside them, they stood at the starting line, marked by two large acorns. "Ready, Piglet?" asked Pooh, his paw firmly holding his balloon's string. Piglet, looking up at his own balloon, nodded. "Ready, Pooh," he squeaked. With a gentle push off the ground, they were off, their balloons lifting them higher and higher into the bright morning sky. It was a splendid start, the breeze nudging their balloons in the same direction. As the 100-acre wood shrunk beneath them, their smiles grew wider and their laughter rang through the air. Their balloons bobbed and weaved in the sky like two colourful birds. Pooh and Piglet whooped with delight, their hearts filled with joy and a touch of nerves. But as they floated further and further away, they noticed the landscape below changing. The quaint and familiar openness of the 100-acre wood was slowly replaced by an area thick with tall, shadowy trees, their branches reaching up like long, gnarly fingers. Piglet looked down and gulped. "Oh, Pooh," he squeaked, "these trees look very tall, and we're very high. Perhaps we should turn back." Pooh looked at Piglet, then at the trees, and then back at Piglet. He nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, Piglet, they do look very tall indeed. But remember what Christopher Robin said about teamwork and challenges." Piglet's ears drooped slightly. "Yes, but—" "Well," Pooh continued, "I think this might be one of those challenges, and together I believe we can overcome it." Piglet swallowed, looking at Pooh's hopeful face. Then he looked at his own balloon, bright and buoyant, and felt a small surge of courage. "All right, Pooh," he said, taking a deep breath. "Let's keep going." And so Pooh and Piglet, two very small creatures in a very big world, ventured onwards. They navigated the tall trees, their balloons swaying with the wind as it whistled through the leaves. Though Piglet was scared and Pooh was a little nervous himself, they encouraged each other, their voices echoing in the stillness. Their journey was not just a race anymore. It was an adventure of courage, of resilience, of friendship. And though the trees seemed very tall and the wind a little cold, they knew they had each other. And with that knowledge, they felt ready to face whatever challenges the balloon race would bring. As the sun started to set, their shadows stretched out behind them, two small heroes on a grand adventure, forever bound by a shared journey and a pair of brightly coloured balloons. The early hours of the morning found Pooh and Piglet, two small adventurers in a rather large forest, floating on their brightly coloured balloons. Their path was riddled with towering trees whose branches swayed and creaked with the wind's whispers. A thin mist hung low, kissing the forest floor and giving the woods a mysterious allure. Without warning, a strong gust of wind, much like Owl when he was in one of his storytelling moods, took hold of Pooh's balloon. It swept him off course and right into a jagged branch of a nearby tree. There was a sudden pop as the balloon was punctured, followed by a soft hissing sound as it started to deflate. "Oh, bother," said Pooh as he began to descend rather swiftly. He grabbed onto a branch, his balloon shrivelling behind him. Now, Pooh wasn't one to complain much, but he did think it was rather unfortunate to be stuck on a tree branch so early in the morning. Piglet, who had witnessed the whole scene, gasped. "Pooh," he squeaked, watching his friend marooned high up in the tree. "Are you all right?" "I believe so, Piglet," Pooh called back, trying to keep his voice steady, "but I do seem to be stuck." Piglet wrung his hands, glancing around in panic. He didn't know how to help. He was just a very small animal, and the problem seemed very big. But then he remembered Christopher Robin's words, teamwork. He might not be big, but he and Pooh were a team, and together they could surely figure something out. "But Pooh," Piglet called up, "I have an idea." "Oh," said Pooh, trying to look down without letting go of the branch. "What is it, Piglet?" "You'll have to jump onto my balloon, Pooh," Piglet proposed. A silence fell upon the forest, the wind pausing as if holding its breath, waiting for Pooh's answer. Jump? Onto Piglet's balloon? It was a rather daring plan, but then again, thought Pooh, daring times call for daring measures. "If you think that will work, Piglet," said Pooh, squaring his shoulders, "I trust you." Piglet nodded, his little heart pounding like a drum. With a deep breath, he maneuvered his balloon closer to the tree, making sure he was positioned right under Pooh. "All right, Pooh," Piglet squeaked, his voice wobbling a little. "On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, called Piglet, and with that, Pooh let go of the branch and jumped. With a thud that rattled the little piglet, Pooh landed on Piglet's balloon, the deflated remains of his own still attached to his paw. And just like that, two friends in one balloon continued their journey, holding on to each other, their shared laughter echoing through the 100-acre wood, testament to their bravery and their unbreakable bond of friendship. And so it was that Pooh and Piglet, two brave adventurers on a rather daring journey, found themselves sharing one balloon, bobbing their way through the 100-acre wood. Their laughter echoed through the trees, their smiles as bright as the afternoon sun that peered down upon them from a cloudless sky. However, as it often happens in adventures, there was a slight hitch. You see, with the extra weight, Piglet's balloon had started to descend quite rapidly, and before they knew it, they'd come to an abrupt stop, their balloon ensnared in a thorny bush. "Oh, bother," said Pooh, looking around. "We seem to be stuck again." But then Pooh's nose twitched, catching a familiar, delicious scent. His eyes widened. "Piglet," he said slowly, "do you smell that?" Piglet, who was trying to tug at the balloon, paused and sniffed. "Smell what, Pooh?" "Honey," replied Pooh, his voice filled with awe. "These are honey thistles." Piglet looked at the thistles surrounding them, noticing for the first time the golden honey gleaming in their hearts. "But Pooh," he warned, "we need to get the balloon out." "Honey," said Pooh again, as if he hadn't heard Piglet at all. "Just a little taste won't hurt." And before Piglet could protest, Pooh had stretched out his paw and was gingerly plucking a thistle. Despite their predicament, Pooh's eyes gleamed with delight as he tasted the honey, its sweetness spreading joy through his round tummy. "Pooh," squeaked Piglet, watching his friend with a mixture of amusement and exasperation, "we need to— Oh!" For as Pooh ate, his actions were causing the thistles to loosen their hold on the balloon. The more thistles he ate, the more the balloon seemed to stir, like a sleepy animal waking from a long nap. "Oh!" exclaimed Pooh, honey dripping from his paw. "Piglet, look!" With one final tug, the balloon was free from the thistles. The sudden release sent them shooting up into the sky again. The ground fell away beneath them, the forest resuming its spot as a green carpet stretching out in all directions. "Oh, Pooh!" Piglet squealed in delight as they climbed higher and higher. "You did it!" Pooh, his face smeared with honey, beamed at his friend. "Well, Piglet," he said, "I suppose sometimes a little bit of honey is just what you need." And with that, Pooh and Piglet, with their shared balloon and shared laughter, continued on their journey. It wasn't just a balloon race anymore. It was a sign of their friendship, their courage, and as it turns out, Pooh's love for honey. As the sun began its descent, casting long, warm shadows across the 100-acre wood, Pooh and Piglet found themselves high above the trees, their hearts filled with triumph and their bodies a little tired from the day's adventures. They looked at each other, their shared balloon bobbing gently between them, and without a word they knew that their balloon race had transformed into something much more important, a grand adventure. "Pooh," Piglet said after a while, "do you think we should head back?" Pooh, who was dreamily watching a butterfly flutter past, turned to Piglet and nodded. "Yes, Piglet, I think that would be a good idea." And so, with the same teamwork that had brought them through tall trees and punctured balloon and a honey thistle bush, they carefully steered their balloon in the direction of home. The forest below was familiar and comforting, the canopy of trees a patchwork quilt of greens and browns. As they slowly descended, they could see their friends gathered in the clearing, their faces tilted upwards. There was Eeyore, Kangaroo, and Owl, and of course Christopher Robin, all waving and cheering as Pooh and Piglet touched the ground. "Pooh, Piglet!" Christopher Robin exclaimed, running up to them. "You made it back." "We did," said Pooh, grinning at his friend, "and we had quite an adventure." Christopher Robin beamed at them. "And you did so well, not because you won a race, but because you demonstrated the most exceptional teamwork. I'm very proud of you both." The cheers from their friends filled the air, and Pooh and Piglet, their chests swelling with pride, thanked them. They had started the day with a race, but what they had ended up with was so much more, an adventure that brought them closer and a friendship that was now stronger than ever. As the day drew to a close, Pooh and Piglet sat side by side, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. They were quiet, the day's adventure replaying in their minds. "Piglet," Pooh said after a while, "I think our next adventure should be one we undertake together." Piglet looked at his friend, a smile spreading across his face. "I think that sounds wonderful, Pooh." And so, beneath the twinkling stars, they made a pact. Their future adventures would not be races, but journeys they undertook together. For in their hearts, they knew that together they could overcome anything, and that their shared laughter was the most wonderful sound in all of 100-Acre Wood.